And now I am truly honored to introduce my great partner and friend, and I think my older brother, Jerry Yellin. Captain Jerry Yellin, a World War II P-51 fighter pilot and Iwo Jima veteran, where we met 2.5 years ago, and look what we started, thanks to Bob. Not only that, he flew 19 combat missions over Japan. Jerry and his beautiful wife, Helene, have been married for 63 years and have 4 sons and 6 grandchildren, 3 of those living in Japan. Captain Yellin is an author of 3 award-winning books, and he is the founder of Operation Warrior Wellness. Please welcome my dear friend, Captain Yellin.
Thank you very much. I'll be 89 in 11 days, and I've been reflecting on my life. From December 7th, 1941, until December of 1945, I had a pure purpose for being alive: to fight a war, to fight a known enemy. And I have to tell you, upon reflection, that those 3 years and 8 months that I served in uniform were the most glorious days of my life. We all, in the 78th Fighter Squadron, in the 7th Air Force, in the 8th Air Force, in the 9th Air Force, had a purity of purpose that I don't see existing in America today. And our pure purpose of life was to kill our enemy, to preserve freedom, and to come home. It was an exhilarating time for an 18-year-old boy to be in uniform, to graduate from flying school at the age of 19, to fly the best fighter planes that were made, and get out of the military after flying 19 times over Japan, surviving missions that were 8 hours long, searching out the enemy, flying off of Iwo Jima, a small 8-mile square island where there were 90,000 soldiers and 28,000 people killed, flying with 16 guys that didn't come back, flying the first mission on April 7th, 1945, ever flown by land-based planes over Japan. And I was on the very last mission ever flown in World War II, on August 14th, 1945, and my wingman was killed. I came home and was discharged in 1945, a captain. And the war was the easy part of my life, because in December I went to Brooklyn, to the home of Phil Schlomberg, who was killed on August 14th, 1945, arguably the last man killed in the war. He was the youngest son of a family of 5 or 6 daughters and 1 or 2 sons, I'm not sure. And his mother didn't want to see me, but his sisters did. And I came with his wings, and I came with his lieutenant bars, and I came with the emblem that he had on his hat, and I talked there for an hour. And when I left, his mother looked at me and said, "Captain, it should have been you who was killed, not my son Philip. And I hope you never sleep a night in your life like I can't sleep." I sat on the stoop for an hour before I drove back to Newark. And then the hard stuff began in my life, because I didn't sleep. I thought about Fred White, who bailed out of a damaged P-51 on April 12th, 1945, and his chute didn't open. What was he thinking? And I became Fred White in my dreams. And I thought about Danny Mathis, who took my place on a flight on June 1, who was killed with 27 other fighter pilots in a mid-air collision, along with Jack Nelson of the 78th Fighter Squadron, and of Dick Schropel, who was following me and 7 other airplanes on a strafing mission over Chichijima, and they were shooting at me and they hit him, and he bailed out. I called for a Dumbo. They dropped a 12-man lifeboat. He got in and was killed by mortar fire, and then we were ordered to sink that boat with his body and all the codes, and we did that. And I was thinking about, at night, every night, about Al Sharon, my classmate from Waterloo, Iowa, went to school with the Sullivan brothers, who on July 8th, 1945, strafing airfields over Japan, called in, "I'm hit, and I can't see," and he didn't come back. And I had nightmares and hard-timed living for 30 years. I had an addiction that ruled my life. And then my wife saw Maharishi Mahesh Yogi on the Merv Griffin show, and she learned Transcendental Meditation. And in August of 1975, 38 years ago, I, in self-defense, learned Transcendental Meditation and got my life back. 100%, 150%. I now had another purpose in life, similar to what I had when I served in the military. We're suffering today from a national disaster. I spoke to Scott Gould not too long ago, who was the Deputy Secretary of the VA. How much is it costing us to treat mental illness? He said, I don't know if the VA knows, but Nobel Prize laureate Joseph Stiglitz co-wrote a book with Linda Bilm, a professor of statistics at Harvard, called The $3 Trillion War. They estimated that it cost $18 billion a year for the treatment of mental illness, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental illness, or medication, psychiatry, psychology, whatever it was that they were doing. That relates to $1.5 billion a month. There are 3 million people who have served in our war for the last 22 or 23 years. We can treat them with Transcendental Meditation, all $3 million, to all 3 million service people, for 2 months of what it's costing today. 2 months. And that cost of $1.5 billion a month is going to go on for 600 or 750 or 60 years into the future. And we can help. We can do better. That's my story.